All right, today is Thursday, December 18th. Tomorrow, December 19th, is the deadline for the Department of Justice to release the Epstein files. Don't get your expectations up. Anyway, this morning, the New York Times dropped a massive article about the true depth, duration, and nature of the friendship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and it is diametrically opposed to how Donald Trump has represented what their friendship actually was. I'm still reading the entire article, but I did find an overview, and then I'm going to add a couple of things as well. So this is from the website Mediaite. 5 disturbing details from the New York Times stunning Trump-Epstein investigation. Also today, so the New York Times dropped this article the day before the Epstein files deadline tomorrow. Also this morning, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released 90 more photographs that they received from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. They received 95,000 photographs in total. And photographs today included people like Bill Gates, Woody Allen, obviously Jeffrey Epstein, I think Noam Chomsky's in a couple of them. And there were several photos of passages from the book Lolita written on women's skin. Super creepy. Anyway, the New York Times published its most comprehensive investigation yet into President Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein earlier this morning. And the portrait that emerges fundamentally contradicts years of Trump's public denials about the depth of their friendship. While the Times found no evidence implicating Trump in Epstein's sex trafficking crimes, the investigation, which is based on interviews with more than 30 former Epstein employees, victims, and associates, reveals a social and personal relationship far more extensive than Trump has ever acknowledged. The piece includes previously unpublished photo of Trump's book, The Art of the Comeback, with an inscription from October 1997 in which Trump wrote to Epstein, "To Jeff, you are the greatest, Donald." The piece cites multiple women describing a dynamic where the two men appeared to be competing for female attention. Said Stacey Williams, "I just think it was trophy hunting." She was a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model in the 90s, and described also how Trump groped her at Trump Tower in 1993 while Epstein watched. She was dating Jeffrey Epstein at the time. Trump has denied this ever happened. The stunning deep dive investigation, co-bylined by Nick Confessore and Julia Tate, which was published one day before the congressional deadline, includes previously unreported details about the frequency of their contact, Trump's presence at parties where trafficking occurred, and what Trump may have known about Epstein's crimes. Here are the most notable revelations. Michael Wolff, author, he's a shifty character, but he recorded over 100 hours of interviews with Jeffrey Epstein, and Jeffrey Epstein said, "I was Donald's closest friend for 10 years. Beginning in the late 80s and extending into the early 2000s, Trump and Epstein maintained what multiple sources describe as an unusually close friendship. Former Epstein employees told the Times the two men spoke by phone at least 3 times a week during the mid to late 90s, and that Trump was a regular presence in Epstein's life, according to handwritten notes kept by one assistant. Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark, told the Times that his brother and Trump, that said Trump was in the office all the time back then, referring to Epstein's Manhattan office, which directly contradicts a White House statement from earlier this summer, claiming that Trump had never been there, ever. The relationship wasn't just social proximity, it was intimacy of a particular kind. Multiple former Epstein employees recalled Epstein putting Trump on speakerphone during office hours, sometimes when staff was present. Trump would then discuss his sexual exploits in graphic detail. In one mid-1990s call, the two men discussed, quote, how much pubic hair a particular woman had and whether there was enough for Mr. Epstein to floss his teeth with, close quote. In another, Trump described having sex with a woman on a pool table. One assistant said Epstein seemed to enjoy making her uncomfortable by broadcasting these conversations. Next up, the party circuit, Mar-a-Lago, Trump Tower, and Epstein's mansion. The Times documents nearly 2 decades of overlapping social worlds. The two men prowled Epstein's Manhattan mansion, Trump's Plaza Hotel, and at least one Atlantic City casino, and both of their Palm Beach homes, according to former employees and women who spent time in those spaces. In 1992, NBC captured Trump and Epstein together at Mar-a-Lago for a party with Miami Dolphins and Buffalo Bills cheerleaders. That's the video we've seen of them at a party together. In January 1993, Trump held another Mar-a-Lago party for potential beauty pageant contestants. The only other guest at that party besides Trump and all of these young women was Jeffrey Epstein, according to organizer George Haraney. The modeling and pageant world served as the connective tissue. Trump befriended elite model management founder John Casablancas and Hawaiian Tropic founder Ron Rice, who told the Boston Globe he would send models to Mar-a-Lago at Trump's request. Epstein also cultivated a relationship with Victoria's Secret owner at the time, Les Wexner, telling women that he could arrange bookings, modeling gigs. Multiple models described being bussed to Mar-a-Lago parties in the mid to late 1990s, often facilitated by Jason Bin, co-founder of Ocean Drive magazine. The events were open bar, no one checked IDs, and young women, some as young as 14, were given alcoholic beverages. Tina Davis, who modeled for Ford, said she was told to, quote, dress sexy for a 1994 Mar-a-Lago party when she was 14 years old. Tina's mother recalled that the waiters kept offering her daughter champagne and that Marla Maples pulled the mother aside with a warning. Whatever you do, do not let her around any of these men, especially my husband, Donald Trump. Maples denied making the comment, but said, I would always protect young women in any way I could. Next section, what did Trump know? The Times reports that Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell introduced at least 6 women who later accused them of grooming or abuse, introduced them to Trump. One was a minor at the time. None have accused Trump of inappropriate behavior toward them. But one woman told the Times that Trump attended all 4 parties at Epstein's Manhattan mansion that she was coerced into attending in the early 2000s. At 2 of these parties, she said Epstein directed her to have sex with other male party guests. She showed the Times a handwritten address book from that period containing Trump's name and 2 phone numbers. She said Trump did not act inappropriately toward her. In emails released by Congress last month, Epstein claimed he gave Trump a 20-year-old woman whom Epstein dated in the 1990s. During a flight in the early 1990s, Trump came on to another Epstein employee telling her, quote, he could have anyone he wanted, close quote, according to a different Epstein worker who learned of the incident. Perhaps most significantly, in a 2019 email to Michael Wolff, Jeffrey Epstein wrote of Trump, of course he knew about the girls, as he was asking Ghislaine to stop. The Times notes the full context is unclear, but the implication is obvious and damning. In a 2010 deposition, Epstein was asked if he ever socialized with Trump with girls under the age of 18. Epstein invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. He did so more than 36 times during that deposition. The falling out, multiple stories, no clear answer. Trump and his representatives have offered varying accounts of when and why the friendship ended. Was it in 2004 over a real estate deal, or in 2007 when Epstein was investigated and prosecuted, or whenever Epstein was banned from Mar-a-Lago for being inappropriate with a masseuse? or with the teenage daughter of a member, or for poaching employees, including Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre, who said that Maxwell recruited her from Mar-a-Lago's spa in 2000 when she was 16 years old. The Times notes that Trump praised Epstein in a New York Magazine article in 2002, calling him a lot of fun to be with, and noting that he liked beautiful women, and many of them are on the younger side. Yet by 2015, as Trump prepared a presidential run, his lawyer Alan Garten told BuzzFeed that Epstein was merely one of 1,000 people who had visited Mar-a-Lago. By 2016, Garten went further and said, quote, "There was no relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump." That statement is now demonstrably false. The political fallout. Times investigation emphasizes something remarkable. The Epstein controversy has, quote, "shaken Trump's iron hold on his base like no other," because he told him for 10 years that they were going to get the client list. They thought he was Q from QAnon, who was going to break up the cabal and bust all the Democrat Hollywood pedophiles. He told him that for a decade. Pizzagate. In November, facing an almost unheard of revolt among Republican lawmakers, Trump reversed course and signed legislation requiring the release of the Epstein-related files. That's due tomorrow. These documents are due to begin emerging this week, though the statute allows Trump's administration to withhold records identifying victims, classified information, or material that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. Trump has said they're investigating Bill Clinton. In her Vanity Fair profile released yesterday, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wild said that she has seen the files and there's no evidence in the files that Bill Clinton did anything wrong. Great work, Susie. The Times concludes that while Trump is not accused of Epstein's crimes, the two men's relationship was far closer and far more complex than the president now admits. That is putting it mildly. What the investigation reveals is nearly 2 decades of constant contact, shared social circles built around access to young women, mutual awareness of each other's sexual behavior, and a friendship intimate enough that Epstein, years after their falling out, still considered Trump his closest friend for a decade. What boggles me about these types of articles and commentary and things like this, nobody ever mentions Katie Johnson. Katie Johnson is a pseudonym for a woman who filed a civil lawsuit in 2016 that accused both Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein of sexually assaulting her when she was 13 years old. The woman alleged that she was held as a sex slave and repeatedly forced to engage in non-consensual acts by Trump and Epstein at Epstein's Manhattan residence during a 4-month period in 1994. She claimed that she was lured with promises of a modeling career and threatened with physical harm or death if she spoke out. An initial lawsuit was filed in 2016. A second version was filed in New York. First one in April 2016. Second one filed in September 2016 in New York, which included sworn declarations from anonymous witnesses. The lawsuit was dismissed in November 2016, and it's been reported that she dismissed it because she was getting so many threats. So, interesting timing on that New York Times article today. Blows the lid off of a bunch of Donald Trump's lies about his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. And then we also had House Democrats release 90 more Epstein photos that they had received from Jeffrey Epstein's estate. It just gets more and more and more gross by the day, as if that's even possible.